Talisman, the Magical Quest game, is one of those rare board games that's managed to stay relevant for decades. It was first published in 1983 by Games Workshop, and it quickly became a staple of fantasy gaming. Now, while the artwork, rules, and publishers have changed over the years, the heart of the game's always remained the same: an unpredictable adventure filled with risk, rivalry, and a degree of chaos. Now, the origins of this game are surprisingly humble. Designer Robert Harris initially conceived the design as a lighthearted project intended to amuse himself and his friends. In its earliest incarnation, the objective had nothing to do with fantasy. Players competed to become the prefect of a boys' school. Now, recognizing the broader appeal of a fantasy setting, Harris reworked the concept, renaming it Talisman, and securing a royalty publishing contract with Games Workshop. The game was publicly showcased at Games Day 1983, where it immediately drew attention. Now, following the release of the third edition, Games Workshop eventually bought out Harris's remaining interest in the title. Now, the first and second editions established the structure players still recognize today. Movement was driven by dice rolls, spaces triggered encounters, and adventure cards introduced everything from monsters to treasure to strange events. And much of the game's charm came from its unpredictability. Fortunes could change quickly, alliances were temporary at best, and disaster was never very far away. The second edition largely preserved the rules of the original, focusing instead on visual upgrades such as color artwork and a modular board. Shortly thereafter, expansions became a defining part of the experience. New boards like the Dungeon, Timescape, and City expanded the world, and they introduced fresh mechanics. And these additions made the game feel larger and more varied, sometimes even offering alternative routes to victory. The third edition, released in 1994, brought the most noticeable changes. Plastic miniatures replaced character standees, giving the game a stronger visual presence. The rules were also revised, most notably with the introduction of the experience attribute. And characters could now develop in a way that felt closer to role-playing games, growing stronger through victories over enemies. Now, the inner region itself was redesigned as the Wizard's Tower, culminating in a final confrontation with the Dragon King. With the fourth edition, the game circled back towards its classic feel. Announced by Black Industries and later supported extensively by Fantasy Flight Games, this version combined the spirit of the second edition with modern production values. A larger board, refined mechanics, and a steady flow of expansions helped bring Talisman to a new generation of players. Production responsibilities then later shifted to Hasbro Avalon Hill, ensuring the line's continuity into its fifth edition. Released in 2024, the newest iteration reflects decades of refinement while preserving the essential identities of Talisman. Meanwhile, digital adaptations have carried the experience to new audiences, with Nomad Games developing updated electronic editions for platforms like Steam. Now, in this video, we'll be playing the second edition of the game, as I've always liked its old-school sensibilities and style. Now, Talisman has a large, detailed, and colorful board, which is divided into three regions: an outer, a middle, and an inner region. And each of these is divided into spaces, which have a title and encounter instructions. There's 36 character cards in the game that detail the characters and their special abilities. And there's also 104 adventure cards and 24 spell cards. There's also 4 toad cards, which are used when characters are turned into toads, and 4 alignment change cards to denote changes in alignment during the game. There's 4 Talisman and 28 purchase cards, and these detail objects that players can obtain by means other than the adventure cards. And finally, there's an assortment of counters to record character abilities, crafts, lives, and gold. Now, setting up the game is pretty easy. You deal 1 character card randomly to each player, and you place the number of strength counters in craft counters next to the card. Next, you place 4 life counters and 1 gold counter in the appropriate corners of the card. The adventure cards are then shuffled and placed face down, and you do the same thing with the spell cards. The Talisman and purchase cards are placed face up in piles according to the object depicted on them. And finally, you decide on the first player and play around the board in a clockwise fashion. Now, each player in the game controls a character with certain abilities, and these characters move from space to space by either a roll of a die or magic spells. Now, when the characters land on a space, instructions indicate that they encounter strange creatures, they find a treasure, or they experience some sort of unique phenomena. Often the characters will end up fighting the monsters or even other characters. As the game progresses, characters become stronger, and they eventually gain enough power to move to the center of the board and attempt to reach and wield the crown of command. And at this point, they'll try to use spells to force all of the other players out of the game. And so let's break down the player character card. Now, it defines the abilities of the player, and these include the character's class, their alignment, their starting point, and any special abilities that they might have. Now, around the perimeter of the card is the character's starting strength, craft, gold, lives, as well as places for objects, followers, and spells. Now, at the beginning of the game, tokens are placed next to the card to indicate the character's starting strength and craft. There's also a place for lives. All characters start with 4, and gold, and all characters start with 1 bag of gold. As the game progresses, the gold, the lives, the objects, and followers will be added to and removed from the appropriate edges of the card. Now, if the character starts with spells, a spell card is drawn, and it's placed next to the character card. Specifically, strength represents a character's strength, stamina, and fighting ability, and it's used in both combat and overcoming certain obstacles that have been encountered during the game. Now, strength can change, and it's represented by strength tokens, which are placed beside the character card. Now, during the game, a character can gain strength by converting experience from enemies killed in combat. It can also be increased by objects or magic objects. And when this happens, the strength counters are added to the appropriate place. Now, strength can also be increased by followers. However, in this case, strength counters are not added. Now, when enemies have been destroyed in combat, the character keeps their enemy cards, and these can be converted to strength at any time. So for every 7 points of enemy strength, the character can add 1 to their strength pool. Enemy cards exchanged are then placed in the adventure discard pile, with excess strength points of the enemies above a multiple of 7 being lost. Strength can also be lost in certain situations, and when this occurs, you remove the strength counters from the pool. However, strength can never fall below the character's initial starting strength. Now, craft reflects how crafty the character is. It's not skills like knitting or building animals out of pipe cleaners and glitter. Thus, it covers things such as intellect, skill, and magical ability. Now, it's a character's main asset in psychic combat, and it also determines how many spells the character can have. Now, like strength, the current craft rating is recorded on the right side of the character's card, and it can change during play. Also, like strength, the current craft level cannot fall below the character's initial craft level. Now, craft counters are only added to the character's craft pool when they're gained by special situations. If they're gained by magic objects and followers, they're not recorded by craft counters, but instead added to the character's craft when that's required or allowed. The number of spells represented by spell cards that a character can have at any one time is limited by the character's craft, and it follows this table. And this limit may only be exceeded by a character possessing the wand. Now, any character can have a spell if their craft is sufficient to permit it. And if at any time a character has more spells than their craft allows, they must choose all the surplus spells and place them on the discard pile. I've mentioned gold, and it's measured in bags, and it's represented by gold counters beside the character card. And every character starts the game with 1 gold. During the game, gold can be gained from adventure cards, and it can be used to purchase items and services, even from other players. Lives represent the character's durability, and they're lost through physical combat, psychic combat, and dangerous encounters. And each character starts the game with 4 lives, and these are represented by counters on the upper right side of the character card. And during play, these can be lost, and when a character reaches 0, the character dies and they're removed from play. Further, all of that character's objects, magic objects, followers, and gold counters are placed on the space where the character died, while the character's spell cards are placed back in the spell discard pile. Now, the player whose characters died then starts again the next turn with a new character drawn at random from the unused character cards. Now, an exception to this resurrection rule is if the characters reach the Crown of Command, at which point any character that dies is now out of the game. And characters can regain lives due to encounters and healing, but they can never restore a character to more than their original 4 lives. There are 2 types of objects in the game, ordinary and magical, and these are acquired as a result of encounters and placed face up on the appropriate place below the character card. Now, characters can never possess objects that they're not permitted to use, and if this happens, they have to leave the object in the space where it was encountered. Also, no character may possess more than 4 objects, not counting gold counters, unless they have a mule, and excess objects have to be left face up on the space that the character occupies, and the character has a choice on which ones they can leave. Now, characters can gain followers through encounters, and when this happens, you place the follower card face up below the character card. And characters may have any number of followers at a time, and if they wish to dismiss a follower, they simply leave them face up on the space that character occupies. Now, any follower that's killed or has to be discarded are placed in the adventure discard pile. Also, each character has an alignment, either good, neutral, or evil, and there are benefits and penalties for good and evil alignments, while characters of neutral alignment gain none of the benefits but suffer none of the penalties of the other 2. And alignment can change during the game as a result of encounters or by the use of a special ability. When a character changes alignment, an alignment change card is taken and placed beside the character card with the appropriate side up to show the character's new alignment. And when a character reverts to their original alignment, as stated on the character card, the alignment change card is discarded. Now, no character, including the druid, can change alignment more than once in any turn. And if the character possesses any magic object not permitted by their new alignment, those magic objects must immediately be placed face up on the space that the character occupies. Also, each character has one or more special abilities which are detailed on the character card, along with any restrictions on that character. And special abilities always surpass standard game rules in case of a dilemma. Now, spells are usually gained as a result of encounters. Now, some characters do start with spells as stated in their special ability, and these are kept face down below the character card. Now, spells that are gained are drawn from the top of the spell stockpile, and when this deck's exhausted, the discards are shuffled and they're placed face down to form a new stock deck. Now, a spell can only be cast as stated on the spell card, and the effect of each spell is detailed on the individual card. Now, once cast and the spell's effects are ended, the card is placed on the spell discard pile. Now, spells which affect other players affect them wherever they are on the board, and spells which can affect creatures only affect those in the outer and middle regions. Also, spells can not be discarded unless the character has more spells than their craft permits. Now, the most important spell in the game is the command spell, and the Crown of Command in the center of the board allows any character who's alone Crown of Command space to cast one command spell per turn at all other characters. When the spell is cast, the caster rolls a die, and on a 1, 2, or 3, that means the spell has no effect, while on a 4, 5, or 6, each of the other characters has to lose 1 life point or admit defeat and drop out of the game. So sequence of play is pretty simple. Each character's turn consists of 2 parts, a movement and an encounter. And at the end of each player's turn, play passes to the next player to the left. So let's talk a little bit about movement. In the outer and middle sections, the player rolls the die to determine how many spaces their character must move. And certain spells, special abilities, and other events can enable a character to move without rolling the die. And these instances are detailed on the relevant cards. Then the character is required to move the full count of the die roll in either a clockwise or counterclockwise direction, and the player chooses this. Directions cannot be reversed during the individual move except when passing between the outer and middle regions. Now, in the inner region, characters can move only 1 space per turn, and the encounter instructions on each space must then be completed before a character can move on. Also, at any time, a character in the intersection can decide to move back towards the plane of peril. Now, movement's still 1 space per turn, but the instructions for encounters are ignored when this character is retreating. And the Crown of Command can only be reached from the Valley of Fire. Now, the Valley of Fire can only be entered by a character owning a Talisman. And if a character doesn't have that, they have to turn back. Now, when on the Crown of Command, a character does not move, but they remain there and cast the spells, as I just mentioned. Now, there's several ways that characters can move between the outer and middle regions. A bridge connects the Sentinel space to the hill space. However, the Sentinel attacks a character each time they attempt to cross the bridge to enter the middle region. And the character has to defeat the Sentinel in combat or evade him to be allowed to pass. Now, characters defeating or evading the Sentinel can continue their move by entering the middle region, while characters defeated by the Sentinel lose 1 life and they end their move in the Sentinel space. Finally, characters in a standoff with the Sentinel do not lose a life, but they also end their move in the Sentinel space. The Sentinel does not attack characters who pass through the Sentinel space while moving in the outer region, or end their movement on the Sentinel space. Though if the character attempted to move to the middle region in their next turn, they would have to fight the Sentinel. Characters can also cross the Storm River by building a raft. Now, rafts can be built or obtained through an encounter, and players have to have an axe if they wish to build a raft. They also have to start in a woods or forest space, and they spend their entire move in that space building the raft. The next turn, they can cross the river into the space on the opposite side, and this single move takes an entire turn. Now, a raft can never be left behind or taken as a possession. Whether or not it's used, it has to be placed on the adventure discard pile or back with the purchase cards if it were bought. Now, the inner region can only be entered through the Portal of Power. And before entering the portal, the character must open it, and this must be repeated each time that a character attempts to move through the portal. To open the portal, the character has to have enough remaining moves to move into the plane of peril space beyond, and a character whose move ends exactly on the Portal of Power space cannot attempt to open it that turn. Then the characters attempting to open the portal follow the instructions on the Portal of Power space, and if they're successful, the character's turn ends on the plane of peril. If they're unsuccessful, the character's move ends on the portal of power space. If a character desires to move in the opposite direction and pass through the portal from the inner region to the middle region, they simply move from the plane of peril to the portal space, and this is their move for the turn. If a character ends their movement on a space with face-up cards, they can claim the loot after they've drawn a card for that space, if indicated, and defeated any enemies in that space. Now, in the middle and outer rings, encounters only occur in the space where the characters end their move. And if the space is occupied by another character, the moving character must either choose to engage with the other character or draw the encounter card for that space. If they engage with the other character, they can either choose to fight them, or they can use their special abilities on the other character if they're applicable. Now, when engaging in an encounter in the space, the player follows the instructions on the space, and this often involves drawing cards from the encounter deck. Now, if there are already cards on the space, only draw a number of cards from the deck to make up for the given number indicated on the space. And when there are multiple cards in a space, they have to be resolved in order from the lowest to highest. In other words, all enemy cards have to first be defeated or evaded, then stranger cards have to be resolved, and finally any treasure can be taken. Now, the inner region is a little bit different. A character can only encounter another character on the Plane of Peril and the Valley of Fire, and such encounters are treated like those of the outer and middle regions. For all other spaces in the inner region, the player follows the instructions for that particular space, unless the character is retreating, as I mentioned above. Encountered creatures in the inner region are immune to spells, and they cannot be evaded. Now, there's a few special rules for these inner region spaces. For instance, the crypts and mines. Now, the crypt's a trap, and characters that enter this space must shift rubble to find an exit. And to simulate this, you take the sum of 3 die rolls, and you subtract the character's strength from it. And the result determines where the character will emerge from the crypt. You then immediately place the character there, and that ends the player's move. Now, any character that emerges on the crypt itself can then move off of that on their next turn. The mines act the same way as the crypt, except that craft, instead of strength, is used to determine where the exit is. The werewolf den, the dice rolled for a werewolf's strength each time any character enters this space. And for the pits, the die is rolled each time a character enters the space, and this is the number of pit fiends that attack the character. The character then fights them one at a time in succession until the character loses a life, whereupon that turn ends. And the character must then continue to fight the remainder next turn. The character can then move on the turn following that in which the last character's allotted pit fiend was killed. Now, if there's already a character on the Crown of Command when a character lands on it, the other character must be encountered. And whenever 2 or more characters are on the Crown, those characters' turns consist only of encountering each other. Also, as I mentioned above, a character alone on the Crown of Command has to cast the command spell each turn. Now, there's a couple specific type of adventure cards in the game. There's event cards, and the instructions on the card have to be followed. Any that result in the loss of a turn by a character encountering them end that character's turn there and then. This counts as the missed turn for that character. Now, enemy cards include animals, monsters, or dragons, and they'll immediately attack any character encountering them. Now, enemies on spirit cards will also immediately attack any character encountering them, but they specifically use psychic combat, which we'll talk about. Now, only after any events on the space have occurred and any enemies on the space have been defeated can the following adventure cards be encountered. First, Strangers, card in which you follow the instructions on the card, followed by Objects, Magic Objects, and Followers, and these are taken if permissible and all enemies on the space have been defeated or evaded. And finally, Places, and again, you follow the instructions on the card. Now, any cards that remain after encounter have to be left face up in a space. Combat in this game is very simple. Characters can engage in combat with monsters or other characters, and these are resolved slightly differently. Now, when resolving combat versus monsters, the character first declares whether they're evading or not, and if not, then the combat takes place. First, any spells that the player wishes to cast have to be cast before any die is rolled. The character then rolls 1 die, and they add their character's strength as well as any single weapon use modifiers. Another player then rolls the die for a creature and adds that creature's strength. Now, if the character's score was higher, the creature's killed, and if the creature's score was higher, the character loses 1 life. Use of an object or spell can sometimes prevent this, and the character turn ends. Now, if the scores were equal, the results a standoff, and the turn immediately ends without either side taking damage. Now, if there's more than 1 enemy in the space that attacks by strength, all these creatures add their strengths together, and they add 1 die roll to this combat score before resolving it. When 2 characters are fighting each other, the character being attacked has the opportunity to evade, and if they do not, then combat takes place. Next, both characters have the opportunity to cast any spells before any die is rolled. And then both characters determine their modified combat score as above, and the character with the higher combat score wins the combat. If the scores are equal, the result's a standoff. Now the victor can then either force the loser to lose 1 life or take 1 magic object or bag of gold counter of their choice from the loser to add to their own. The turn then ends. Psychic combat occurs whenever a character is attacked by a creature such as a spirit or another character that has the ability to wage psychic combat. And psychic combat is resolved in exactly the same way as physical combat, except that the attack die roll is modified by craft instead of strength. Now, no object can prevent the loss of a life level in psychic combat. Now, characters can evade combat by using spells or special abilities. With the exception of immobility spells, all creatures and characters in a space can be evaded at the same time. And only other characters and not creatures can be evaded in the inner region. In certain situations, characters can be turned into toads. And if a character is turned into a toad, the toad card is placed on the character's playing piece. All of their objects, their magic objects, their golden followers are placed on the space where the transformation occurred. And while the character is a toad, their strength and craft are reduced to 1, though they do retain their normal life levels. A toad cannot gain or cast spells, nor can they use special abilities. They can, however, move 1 space per turn and engage encounters as normal characters would. Toads revert back to their character status after 3 turns, and they regain all of their abilities and spells. And they have a chance to pick up their objects, their gold, their followers, if their cards are still in the same space where the character was turned into a toad. Also, during their turn, players can spend gold to purchase items from the purchase deck, and these are treated like all other objects in the game in terms of encumbrance and usage. Now, if an item's already been purchased by another player, it's unavailable to all other players. And once an item's used for loot, it's placed back in the purchase pile. Also, purchases can be left face up in a space on the board as any other object. As I've hinted in several times in this review, the winner's the last character left alive in the game. Alrighty, back with Talisman. And this is a long game. It's kind of like Monopoly. So I've broken it down into some smaller segments so that you can pop around and take a look. I think it'd be kind of boring just to watch me play this for 3 hours straight, but some people do. And if you are, hey, thanks, I do appreciate that. But most people are probably going to be struggling a little bit. Anyway, got the game set up here. I went ahead and drew 2 random characters. And I've got the warrior and I've got the minstrel. Now, the warrior's special abilities are that they can roll 2 die in combat, and they can choose the higher one, and they can also use 2 weapons at the same time. So that kind of helps a little bit. The minstrel special abilities is that animals and dragons won't attack them, though they can attack the dragon or the animal, and they can charm these animals. They roll a 1, and if they roll 1 die, and if they roll higher than the animal's strength, then the animal becomes a follower, and they can have 1 of those at a time. They can also steal the Maiden or Princess card from another player, and they're immune from the Hag's Curse. So that's the setup. We'll just start with a random character here. And I'll just start with the warrior, or I'll end up calling him the fighter. Shows how old school D&D I am. Roll a die and get a 6. So either the village or the city. I think I'll go ahead and head towards the city. Okay, get down to the city here, and I can either go to the enchantress, the alchemist, or the doctor. I don't need healing. The alchemist will turn objects into gold, which I don't need, so the enchantress is my only option. You roll a die, got a 3, and a 3 means you lose 1 craft. Ouch. Don't have a lot of craft to give, so we'll lower that by 1. At least it's not strength. Okay. Going on to the minstrel, and we roll a die and get a 6. Let's just go this way. I'm going to try to stay away from the other player a little bit here. And I can go to healer. Don't need a healer. There's a blacksmith. I could sell something, but I don't have any money. Or I can go to the mystic. Now, at the mystic, I roll, and let's just roll it and see what I get. Got a 3, and a 3 means ignored, so nothing there. Okay, back to the warrior. Get a 4. And we'll go to the woods and we draw a card. And get the magic belt. The belt of magic. Increases strength by 1. So, not bad. And roll for the minstrel. And we rolled a 2, so either the forest or the graveyard. Let's go to the forest. And we roll another one. And we are attacked by a brigand with a strength of 4. Okay. So let's pull up our character sheet here. The minstrel has a strength of 2. So we're going to take a 2 and a 3, and we get a 5. The brigand has a 4. 4 and a 5, 9. So the brigand easily wins, and we reduce our life by 1. And that ends the combat. Okay. Now the warrior will go with a 2. Let's go to the hills, get an adventure card, and we get a gnome. We have a gnome follower. Now, only need to roll a 1 die when opening the portal. Okay, it says you need only roll 1 die when opening the portal of power by craft and 2 die in the mines. And you need not roll the die when in the crags. You're always safe, and you can evade enemies in the hills. Good to know. So we'll put our gnome down here. Gnome. The minstrel rolls a 2, and let's go here. We draw 2 cards. This is the ruins. 2 cards. We get a marsh and a griffin. Okay, so the marsh remain here the rest of the game. Whenever you land here, you must miss 1 turn if your strength is less than 5. Okay, we'll put that there, and let's get it pointed in. And we have a griffin to fight. So minstrel goes, rolls a 4 and a 2, 6. Griffin rolls a 5 and a 2, a 7. So 1 life lost there. And we can put him back, return to deck. Okay, back up to the warrior. 2. Yeah, let's go to the woods. 1, 2. Pull an adventure card. And a ghost. Ghost materializes in one of these places. 1, in the city. So there's a ghost in the city now that we have to fight. Okay, back to the minstrel. Where you at? There you are, buddy. Now, let's see. I think the marsh will remain here for the rest of the game. If we land there, miss a turn if your strength is less than 5. And definitely that's the case with the minstrel. Doesn't say whether that goes into effect immediately. I think I'm going to say it does. So we'll just put him there. Misses his turn. Warrior gets to go with a 6. And we'll go down to the forest here and roll a 4. A 4 means safe, so nothing goes on there. Okay, now the minstrel can go with a 6. This vassal's kind of strange that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back in the hills. Pull an adventure card. Bag of gold. Okay, so minstrel gets a bag of gold. We'll just clone it. Minstrel's not doing too well. Okay, warrior goes with a 4. Either the graveyard or 1, 2, 3, 4 at the tavern. Let's go to the tavern. It's a little friendlier. And we roll a 4. A 4 means you gain 1 gold piece from gambling. Okay, minstrel goes with a 3. We'll go to the plains. gets a casket. You can take the casket and open it whenever you want. When you do, roll 1 die to see what it contains, and then place the casket on the discard pile. Could be poison, gas, gold, a spell, or a talisman. Well, let's roll it. We could use it. This character's not doing great, so let's just roll a 3. Gas, miss 1 turn. Okay. This game is so totally luck-based. I think I'm going to go ahead and attack him and try to steal his gold. So we will move there. The warrior gets a 4, and +1 is a 5. So 5 and 5 is 10. Minstrel gets a 2, and a 2 is a 4. And I will steal his gold. I could take his life, but I want his gold. Not that cruel. Okay, Minstrel misses a turn. Warrior goes with a 1. I'll go to the woods. Draw a card. A mule. Hey, that's nice. Mule lets me carry 8 objects. So we will... And this is how this game tends to have, it goes back and forth a lot. It's kind of a shoots and ladder kind of thing, but it does have a tendency to eventually end up with one character being overpowered and pretty much taking over. Okay, now I think the minstrel can go. He gets a 6. Yeah, let's go right over here. 1 card in the fields, and we'll draw a card. Market day. It's market day. All players may trade gold, objects, spells, and followers in their possession. When everybody has finished trading, the market closes, and you place it on the discard pile. Well, who wants to trade up? I don't think anybody wants to trade up, so we'll just eliminate that. Okay, 1. Let's go to the plains. And we've got Man-at-Arms. Hey, that's a nice one to have. I think he adds, basically the Man-at-Arms adds 2 to your strength in combat. So I got a Gnome and I got a Man-at-Arms. That Gnome could come in handy with that Portal of Power. It's kind of hard to get through. Okay, the Minstrel gets a 2. We'll go to the plains, draw a card. A boar. Okay, we got to fight a boar. Now the boar has a strength of 1, and the minstrel has a strength of 2. So we'll roll for the minstrel first. 4, and the boar gets a 6. So minstrel loses another life. Minstrel's not going to last a long time. Here, put him up there. Okay, 6 for the this guy. We're going to roll over here. Roll for the woods. And we roll a... Oops, draw a card. Draw a card. I got to remember what I'm doing here. Okay, Stranger Enchanter. Enchanter seeks to enable adventure to the first player landing here with a craft of 4 or more will grant 1 of the following wishes of their choice. Gain expel gold, strength, craft, or life, or teleport to any space in the region. Well, we'll put him down here. Could come in handy. But I don't have my warrior doesn't really count because he's got a craft of 2. Should be 3, I think. Did I lose a craft? I think it should be 3. Don't remember that. Okay. Minstrel. 3. Go to the chapel. And I'm good. Oh, I forgot to, with the boar, I could have avoided that attack. Yeah, well. Good, you're either healed, free of charge, back up to your starting quota, or you can pray by rolling 1 die. So we'll heal up. That's a good one to be at. like I say, I don't know this game that well, so bear with me. I'm sure that people watching this video will be saying that know this game inside and out. But like I said, I try to get 5 plays in. I played, like I say, I played back in the 80s a couple times, and then I recently refound it. Found it in a thrift store. Found an old one here, so not often I find any good finds like that. But okay, 1. We'll go here and attack the boar. I've got a 4 and a 5, so 5 and 4 is 9, so that's easily going to take the boar out. So we will put him here. That's okay, he can go here. And we're going to put him down here as a experience points. Okay, Minstrel goes with a 1. And we'll draw a card. Raft. On your next turn, instead of your normal move, you may cross the river space as to the opposite side. Well, problem is it's going to take me to the Curse Glen, and I don't have much in the way of materials or followers, so it's probably not going to want to go to this middle tier, so we're just going to throw that back in. Okay, 1. Crags. So that's about the only place I could go. I could go here, or I can go to the crags. Possibility if I rolled a 6 of getting a strength, but I think I'm going to go ahead and go here. And basically nothing will happen. I can't do much for the enchanters, so. Okay, roll 6, 5. We're back in the village. Do I have any gold? I have 1 gold. Not enough to do much of anything. I could go visit the Mystic. Let's do that. Let's visit the Mystic. Get a 3, and I'm ignored by the Mystic. Just my luck. Back to the Warrior. Either the crags or the castle. Let's go up to the castle and let's take on that. We're going to take on that ghost. Okay. Craft of 4, and I've got a craft of 3 as the warrior. So let's start with the warrior rolls a 6, and the ghost rolls a 6. So it's nothing happens there. Roll for the minstrel. It's going to be here at Forest. Looks like the better opportunity. We'll roll a die. We get a 1, and we're attacked by a brigand with a strength of 4. Minstrel has a strength of 2, so gets a 7. Brigand has a 4, 8, so 1 life. 1 life is lost. Okay, back up to the warrior. 6. Warrior's neutral. That means if he went down here, or we could go to the tavern. Tavern sounds like a little better deal. Let's go to the tavern. We roll a die. Get a 1. You get blind drunk, collapse in a corner, and miss a turn. So minstrel gets 2 turns in a row. Go to the graveyard and lose a life. Yeah, either way, I could have fought the... Yeah, let's go ahead and fight him. Let's see what happens. Let's just do that. Let's go up here and we'll fight the warrior. So the minstrel goes with a 2, 3. Okay, warrior goes with a 4, 8. So minstrel can either give up a life or a gold. I'll take the gold as the warrior. Okay. Minstrel gets to go again and gets a 3. And we draw a card. Get a lion. We're up against a lion now. No lion. Okay, Minstrel. Character sheets 2 plus a 1 is a 3, and the lion gets a 3, so the lion will automatically bite the Minstrel. Takes him down to decrease 2. And now the warrior gets to go. Warrior gets a 6. Let's go down here. And let's visit the blacksmith. Helmets are 2, swords are 2, axes are 3, shields are 3, armor's 4. And I have 2. Well, I like the idea of an axe. So we're going to take the 3 and spend and buy me an axe. Because with an axe I can get across the river if I need to. Plus the axe adds 1 to my strength. Oh, I keep forgetting about my man-at-arms. I got to remember him. He's... Okay. 1 for the minstrel. Band of zombies. Yeah, that's pretty much over for the minstrel, I think. So we're going to start... Basically, there's 4 of them you've got to fight in order. So let's do that. 2 and 2 is 4, and a zombie, first zombie gets 6, 8. Okay, that's going to be 1 there. I've lost a life, so if you lose a life, the fetid band stays in place. So basically, it's not going to kill me off, but oh, I better put the zombies back. So now we have zombies in the hills. I think with the lion, I should have left him in place. Oh well, that's okay. Okay, 5. Let's go back up to the fields. And we get a sword. All right, that's not bad to have. We'll keep it for now. We might be able to sell it. Okay. Minstrel goes with a 3 and draws a Pegasus. Pegasus, the wing course will immediately give you a ride to any space of your choice in the same region. So yeah, we'll take that and we'll go down here and fly over to the chapel. And I'm going to go ahead and heal up there. Okay. We're going to go attack the zombies. Okay. So the warrior has a strength. The strength is increased by 1, 2, and then the skill and 3, 4. So the man-at-arms, the sword, and the magic belt. So plus 4, 2, 3, 4, 8. Okay. So easily should be able to take the zombies. 4, 8, 12. The zombies have a 5, so that's the first zombie. Now it doesn't say whether this is happening in the same turn or not. I guess you have to defeat all of them. So 6 and 8, 4 and 8 is 12. No way they're going to do that. That's 2. We'll do the third attack. 6 is no problem, and then 2 and 8 is 6. Zombies have a 1, 3, so yeah, we've attacked the zombies, or we've defeated them. Okay, so now they're 2, 4, 6, 8 points. I'm going to go ahead and turn this in, and that would increase my strength by 1. Basically, I'm getting a experience increase there. So, yeah. Increase, increase, increase. Okay. And we will save at that point. All right, Minstrel's turn. Roll a 1. Go here and we'll draw a card. Golem. Okay, I think the Golem's going to kick his tail. No spells, weapons, or magic objects can be used against him. Well, that's good because the Minstrel doesn't have much. Let's see. I don't think there's anything. The Minstrel, I didn't use it on the animal, which I should have. Charm an animal, take a maiden, immune to Hag's Curse. There's not much. This guy's not that great. But we'll roll for him. And strength of 5 for the, or strength of 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4, and the Golem goes with a 1, a 6. So decrease there. Yeah, he's going to pretty much... Golem's kind of tough. Not like the dragons, but... Okay. 3 for the fighter, warrior. Fighting Man. Remember that from old 0 edition D&D. Fighting Man. Okay. Adventure. That's a long time ago. Long, long time ago. Bag of gold. The old proverbial bag of gold. Clone it. Okay. Down here with the Minstrel. 2. And we'll go to the... Let's go to the fields. Draw a card. Goblins in the field. Well, goblins are doable. Laying waste, it remains here until killed. I don't think I can do much against goblins. No. All we can do is roll a 2 plus whatever we get here, and I get a 5. Goblins get a 2 plus a 6, an 8. So, decrease. Okay, back up to the warrior. You can start to see how some characters it's just all completely roll of the die luck. And this game has kind of a shoots and ladders sort of appeal to it, that it's, or not appeal, where you can be rolling high one day and then a bad series of rolls completely ruins things. So, okay, I've got a concealed pouch. Now, I can store 1 object, and if I lose the combat, the victor may not take either the pouch or the object. Can't be stolen by a thief, and it can be taken through spell acquisition, which is acquisition's kind of a nasty little spell, but okay, I will take, well, I could put my magic belt in the concealed pouch here, I guess. Actually, let's put my axe. My axe is actually more useful because I can build a thing with that. So, oh, and then the warrior, I keep forgetting to use his special abilities. Can roll 2 die in combat, and they can use 2 weapons at the same time. So I can use both of the axe and the sword. Well, I'm becoming pretty damn formidable. Have to try to remember that. That's the other thing, is I keep forgetting all these different things. We'll roll for the Minstrel, and gets a 5. Don't want to go to the graveyard if I can help it. Ooh, we've got problems. We either go to the graveyard or we go up against the ghost. Well, I'll go to the graveyard. And with the graveyard, I automatically lose a life, I think, because I'm good, so. Down to 1. And now the warrior goes, gets a 4. 1, 2, 3, nothing there. 1, 2, 3. We'll go to the tavern, I guess. We'll roll a die, see what happens in the tavern. And we get a 6. Now 6 is the boatman offers to ferry you to the temple as your next move? I've got pretty good fighting abilities. I think I might take him up on that, so we'll do that for my next move. And 5 for the minstrel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw a card. The genie. Okay, genie has 1 spell. And the genie will let me cast 1 spell. Haven't been able to pick up any spells for the minstrel, really. So let's, we've got reflection. This spell may be cast as required. It turns any spell back to the player, including command. Well, that's kind of nice. If I go to the middle, okay. And we will move here on the next turn. And the temple, I can pray. And roll 2 die. Oh, I'm not going to pray. I'm going to stay put. I don't think... Gain. I need everything a 6 or higher. Actually, it's not bad to pray. Unless I roll a 5, I'm in bad shape. Well, you're going to roll probably around a 7, so let's do it. Let's pray at the temple. And I got a 9. 9 is gain Talisman. Oh, perfect. Okay. Kind of forgot about the Talisman, but like you can see, look at, I mean, compare the minstrel's position versus the warrior, and you can see. Okay, now I've got a mule, so I've got, see, I would normally be maxed out and would have to give something up, but since I don't have to give anything up because I got a mule, I can carry up to 8 objects. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Roll for the minstrel. He gets a 1. He can either go to the marsh and get stuck and fight a guy, or he can go to the woods. Well, let's go to the woods. That's going to be probably my better option. Roll a die and get a 4. And with a 4, they're safe. Yeah, took advantage of that. Okay. Fighting guy. 6. I'm going to go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to try to go into the plane of peril. To do this, do not draw a card if there's already one here. And if you're trying to pass the plane of peril, you draw no card, which I'm trying to do. I either have to use my craft or strength to force the lock. You rolled 2 dice, and the total has to be equal to or lower than your chosen ability. Now, it doesn't say whether your chosen ability is modified by combat or not. That's what I'm kind of wondering about. I've got a 5. There, I can use my belt to get me a 6. And see, I don't know if I can add objects like swords and axes. That doesn't really say. Let's try it and see what happens. 7. Okay, so I rolled over. I don't think... Oh, okay. With the portal power, I only need to roll 1. Okay, let's try that instead. Now I need a 3. Yeah, we'll try it next turn. Okay, so I use my strength, so I have to reduce this by 1. So we'll delete this. Okay. I need to use my craft. Okay, back to the minstrel. Gets his 1. We'll go back here, draw a card. And his card is a bag of gold. Well, that's okay. Okay. Gonna try to hit the door again. And this time I'll use the craft. We'll just see what happens with craft. I guess I could roll my d6. Yeah, so you're going to end up here and stop there anyway if you go, so it doesn't really matter. Craft is my character sheet. My craft is 3, and I'm using my gnome. So I just roll 1 d. Let's see if your total is equal to or lower. Okay, so if I get a 1, 2, or 3, I basically got a 50-50 chance, and I got a 1, so I move right on through. So it's because it's less than 3. You must stop before moving, and you can only move 1 space per turn. Got to remember that. Okay, 3 for the minstrel. 1, 2, 3. Draws a Halloween. It's Halloween. All evil players may invoke spirits. Well, I'm not evil, so it doesn't do anything. Now, it doesn't say whether this affects all players in the game or just the player that's going. And I'm not sure. I'm not evil, so it doesn't matter either way. That's the issue with this game. There's an awful lot of rules that you're just kind of scratching your head on. So you just kind of have to keep playing and come up with something. Okay. We can move 1. We're going to move to the crypt. And I think we're going to move to the crypt. Let's see here. Character sheets. Or the mines. This was roll 3 dice. Roll 2 dice. Okay. So basically we're going to roll 3 dice and you subtract your strength. And that'll tell you where you're going back to. Okay. So let's roll our 3 die. 8 and 6. 14. Okay, 14 minus my strength is 4, is 10. And my belt is going to make that 9. With a 9... I'm going clear back to the city. Okay. And here I've got Fight the Ghost. I get a 6 plus my craft is 3, 9. And the ghost gets a 4 plus 6 is a 10. So the ghost wins. And I reduce this by 1. Okay, so there was, again, the chutes and ladders thing kind of showing up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we don't want to go there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I guess we're going to be stuck in the marsh. Or no, that's the hills. This should be, I think that was in the hills, the ruins that we had that. So we should be there. Let's fix that. Okay, I got a shield. Well, that helps. Oh, and I remembered I didn't. Just remembered another little rule here. When I'm fighting, I get an extra roll, but that's on combat. It doesn't say whether this combat is spirit combat or with craft or strength, so it doesn't really say. Okay. Well, it would make sense that it would just be your strength. Okay. Oops. 3. We're on the plains. We get a shovel. Helps in the crypt. Okay. Good. Well, that's kind of a good thing to have. If I can get back up there again. Make sure I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, right? this is... Okay, there's my 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. Okay, I've got 7 items now, so I can have one more item that I can carry. Not running across a lot of monsters in this, which is kind of odd. Okay, back to the minstrel. We'll go to the village. Minstrel doesn't have a lot. He's got 1 bag of gold. Oh, that man of arms belongs over here. So that's not going to do anything. Let's go visit the mystic. Mystic gets a 5, gains a craft. Okay. We can increase our craft by 1. There we go. Hey, not bad on craft. Okay. 1 for the warrior. And pull an adventure card. Gets a ring. While you have the ring, you can either have 1 craft or 1 strength. It doesn't tell you whether you have to choose, so I guess you can... Okay, so I've got to remember my mule says I can carry up to 8 objects. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I thought I had 8. I guess I got 7. So, okay. Okay, 6 for the minstrel. With a 2, go back to the forest and get a 2. Lost for 1 turn. Okay, so 4 in the tavern. And we get a 1. You get blind drunk and lose a turn. So lose a turn. Then this guy loses a turn. This guy loses a turn. We're back to the minstrel. 1. I'll get a porter. We'll carry 4 objects for you for a donation. Don't have any gold really to give, so we're going to just leave the porter here. Okay, back to the... Warrior gets a 1. Adventure card is a jester. Jester becomes your follower. He's an annoying fellow who's an utter coward and will hamper you in combat by screaming loudly. This deducts 1 from your die roll. Jester will leave you if you visit the tavern, where he will disappear to the discard pile. So I have to get back to the tavern here. Get rid of that guy. So got to remember the jester. Okay, back to the minstrel. I got a minstrel and a jester. Jester, not a gesture. Probably give the jester a gesture. Adventure cards. A poltergeist. Okay. Poltergeist is attached. You take as follower. Its only effect is to slow your movement to 1 space per turn. You can, by crossing a river. Oh my gosh, that's just like you say. You can see how these characters just get pummeled by bad cards. Okay. 5. Go to the tavern, and I think I'm going to pick up some armor if I have 4. Let's see, do I have 4 gold? I've got 2 gold, don't have enough there. I could heal. I'm at 3, probably worth healing. So let's take my healing back up to a 4 and spend my gold. Okay. I got to get rid of this poltergeist somehow. Well, we'll go here, and we roll a die. 2. Lost for 1 turn. Okay, not make a big deal difference. I am going to, with my warrior, I'm going to use my axe, and I'm going to build a raft. So, spending the turn building the raft. He doesn't do anything for a turn. Use my second turn to get across the river. And I have to draw a card here because this is where my movement ends for the warrior. So let's draw a adventure card. The golden statue. Okay. Hey, that's worth 5 gold. Problem being, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. I guess I could carry that around. It's worth a lot of money, but I just don't want to carry all that crap. But I'm going on the middle, so I guess it's not going to matter a lot. So. Okay. Now this guy gets to go here, the porter, and that's it. There's nothing you can do. I'm not going to hire the porter, so we're going to go here and roll a 6, and we're going to try to go through, again, try to make it through the portal of power. Either the strength or the craft. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm not in combat, and my craft, I can use my ring to increase my craft. So we're going to do that. We'll say we have a craft of 4. I don't think anybody else. And then the gnome is going to use 1 die for craft. So I've got to roll under a 4. 5. Darn it. Okay, so that means I lose a craft. Okay, and then this guy is going to make his 1 move here. Now, he's crossed the Storm River, and so since he's crossed the river, I don't have the Poltergeist anymore, so we can return him to deck, and he needs a healer. He'll spend his gold and bring his life up by 1. Okay. Let's try it again with our craft. Now this time I have a craft of 2, 3. I have to roll under a 3. 1. Okay, I made it through. I'm on the Plains of Peril. And I can move 1 space per turn. Minstrel gets to go. He can move normally now. He'll go to, he keeps getting stuck down here. We'll go back to the old tree and get a 1. Attacked by a brigand with a strength of 4. Okay, Minstrel goes with a, he has a 2 and rolls and gets a 4. Brigand has a strength of 4 and gets a 5. So he hits. Now the shield, we roll for the shield to see if it works, and it gets a 6. And the shield protects you, so no damage. Okay, back up to the Plains of Peril with the Crypt. We're going to roll 3 die. Hold on a second. Let's see how much strength I can garner. I can garner 1. See, it doesn't tell how you use this. When you have the ring, you can either add 1. I'll add 1 to my strength and here, so there's 2. Oh, and subtract 2 here for the crypt. Okay, so that's 3, 4 that I subtract. Okay. 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, minus 4 is 6. Ah, back to the city. Wait, hold on a second. Let's do that again. I rolled, let's roll it, 4. I rolled a 6, 10. Okay, 10, and getting too many cards here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. I rolled a 3 is what it modifies out as. So with a 3 here, Portal of Power, back to here. Okay, that works. Okay, Minstrel rolls. 3. 1, 2, 3. Draws a card. Gets a healer. The healer's made his home here. Rest of the game, he will heal up to 2 lives per visit. Okay, that's kind of handy. We'll go with our character sheet for him, and he'll come up to increase. He's back to normal. Okay, back here. We'll go through the crypt. Now on the crypt, got to remember 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I didn't include that. 8. I take off 8. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Magic belt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, I made it. So we are now moved through the crypt. Okay, back to the minstrel. Go back here, and I'm healed back up to starting quota, but I can't do anything. I'm there, so not going to make any difference. Okay, this guy moves 1, and he dices with death. Roll 2 die for yourself and 2 die for death, and if the scores are equal, you need to dice with death again. If you score lower, you lose a life, and if you score higher, you can move on. So 2 die. Okay, so fighter goes, gets a 5. Oops, let's roll here. Gets a 5. Death gets a 5. Okay, they're equal. So we go next turn. Back down here. 2. It's either the Crags or the Sentinel. I'll go to the Sentinel and draw a card. An Ogre is sitting here now. Okay, the Ogre has a strength of 4. We'll roll for this for the Minstrel first. And we roll a 1, 2, 3, and the Ogre will automatically take that one. So we'll decrease that. Don't have to roll. Okay, 2 die for our warrior. A 6, 2 dies for death. A 7. So death wins, and adventurer will lose 1. Okay. 2. Go back here, and we will take the healing. Okay, dicing with death. Warrior goes with a 4. I'm not sure those are 2 6s. That's kind of weird. Let's hit it twice. I'm not sure that dice, is that working? I guess it is. Okay, let's do it again. Warrior goes with a 9. Death goes with an 8. Moves on. Okay. Plus I want to make somebody win this game just to kind of show you. We're cheating here. Go back to the woods. Draw a card. Get the Staff of Mastery. This is a really good one. Basically with this you can enslave a creature of your choice and then add that to the next battle. use the Staff of Mastery and hit the dragon, you've can pretty much win a combat. So nice little possession. Let's see, for possessions I've got 2. Okay. Now, werewolf. With the werewolf, you roll 2 die for the werewolf, and you lose 1 life, and you must fight the... Okay. 2 die for the werewolf, strength, then fight it. And if you lose 1 life, and you must then fight the same werewolf again next turn, and you may not move on until you've defeated the werewolf. Okay, so we roll 2 die for the werewolf and get a 6. I'm just going to give the werewolf his life. And so basically we're going to fight until one of us runs out of hit points. Is essentially what happens. It'll take a while. Okay. Oh, no, that's his strength. That's not his life. That's his strength. He has a strength of... let me make that right. Increase, 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 increase. Okay. So he has a strength of 6. And then my strength is pretty high. I can use 2 weapons, so I can use my axe for 1, and I can use my sword for 1, so that's 1, 2, I can use my ring, 3, 4, and then I can use this guy, 5, 6, and I can roll twice and use the higher score. So let's do that. Let's see, we got a 9 and a 12. Okay, the werewolf rolls a 6 and a 12, so nothing happens there, so we're stuck that turn. Okay, back to the minstrel. 1. Ugh, he either goes to the graveyard and loses a life, or he goes and fights here and loses a life. Well, we stand a better chance here, so we're going to use that. Actually, we can use my shield. I could make the ogre my slave, but I got 4 hit points, so we're good. Okay, so I have a 2, and the ogre has a 4. Okay, 3 and 2. I've got a 5. Ogre gets a 6, so the ogre does damage, and if I get a 5 or 6, I don't take it. Nope, I took it. Okay, back to up here. And I forgot my... Let's go back and figure this. I got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It should be plus 10. We roll a 6, a 5, or a 3. So I'll take the 5. 15, and the werewolf gets a 6 and a 1, 7. So the werewolf is eliminated. There we go. I think that was better. I think I messed that last one up. Okay. So werewolf's eliminated, and I can move next turn. This guy goes 3, 1, 2, 3, and gonna heal up. Back to normal. And the minstrel's actually more standard for this game for how it's played out than the warrior here. But we'll move the warrior here. He's got a talisman. Let's show you the talisman here. So he can move in next turn. There's our talisman right down there. He can move through the Valley of Fire. Minstrel goes. Again, I think that pretty much it's over, but let's go ahead and keep playing it like normal. Shade. Craft. Okay. Guy with his head here. He's got a craft of 2. And I've got a craft of 5. Okay, so Minstrel goes with a 6. Shade goes with a 3. So the Shade's eliminated. Throw in some Shade. There we go. Okay. Move in to the crown. If you were cast 1... Okay, so I've moved in here. And I can cast the Crown of Command. So I'm going to do that. And it basically... roll 1 die. If it's 4 to 6, the victim must admit defeat or lose 1 life, and 3 means no, or 1 through 3 means no effect. So I roll a die, and I get a 1, no effect. Okay, next turn for the Minstrel. Crags. We'll go to the Crags. And we roll there, and we get a lose 1 turn. Okay. Next turn with the Warrior. Rolls. Gets a 3. Nothing. Minstrel does nothing. Next turn with the Warrior. Gets a 3. Nothing. Minstrel goes and gets a 2. You'll grant one of the following wishes. You can gain a life, you can gain a craft, a strength, a gold, or a spell. Well, can't go above that on lives, so I'm going to go ahead and increase my strength by 1. Okay. Next, the Warrior goes with a 5, and that's going to reduce the Minstrel by 1 by using the Crown of Command. Minstrel goes. Like I said, this is just end game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's something interesting. A Peddler. Okay. Peddler can sell stuff. I don't have any gold, so it doesn't matter. We go back to the Warrior with a 6. That takes the Minstrel down another point. And Minstrel goes. Hopefully I'm playing this game right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rules are a little sketch on this. Okay, Doppelganger. Looks just like me. And strength is going to be the same. So Minstrel has a strength of 3, Doppelganger. So Minstrel rolls a, let's do it again, 3, 6. The Doppelganger rolls a 1, so he defeats the Doppelganger. So basically 2 plus 3 is 5. So I don't have enough to increase my strength yet, but it's okay. Okay, back up to the Warrior. Gets a 4. That's enough to take this guy down to 1. Rolls a 6. Back to the plains, the fields. You just don't know what the... Oh, he gets the princes. So she can... If you go to the castle, you can get healed. Or you can exchange her for gold. Not very useful. And... just realize... Warrior goes with a 1, nothing. He goes with this. 1, 2, 3. We're in the woods. We draw a card. A Harpy. Okay. Psychic combat. So psychic combat between the two. I got a 5. A 6 and a 5 is an 11, and the Harpy has a 4. 10. Okay, we beat the Harpy. A couple things happen here. Oops, I don't want the Peddler. Getting too many cards. Okay, where are you, Harpy? Harpy's worth 4. Strength of 3 for the Doppelganger, 7. So that is going to. I'm going to buy that to increase my strength. It's using your experience points. Then Warrior's going to get a go with a 3. No effect. This guy will go 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back here. Rolls a 4, and a 4 means it's safe. Warrior's going to go. Rolls a 5. Okay, that would normally do damage to the Minstrel, but the Minstrel has, I forgot about this card, has the reflection spell and I can use it, discard it, and return the genie to my deck and eliminate that. Okay. 6 for the Minstrel. Back to the woods. Draw a card. The Boar. Okay. And with the Boar, I'm going to charm it. And if I charm it, he becomes my follower. So I have to roll higher than 1 die, and I roll over higher than the strength. So yeah, 6. Okay. So now the Boar is my follower. Okay, back with the Crown of Command. Roll a 6, got a 5, so that's going to affect the Minstrel. And that would eliminate him. So that would end the game. Basically, the Warrior's the last man standing. There's really not a lot the Minstrel could have done to get through to these inner areas. So I could play through again. This was actually a really short game for this. If you get more characters and more players, it tends to run long. I usually, when I've played it, since it kind of has that chutes and ladders kind of feel to it, usually plays about 3 to 4 hours. Again, I'm really slow the times I've played this, and I kind of try to take it slow when I'm doing the demo too. But it definitely has that up and down feel, and some people like that, some people don't. I think as a younger kid I would have been okay with it, or as a younger person. I'm no kid anymore, far from it. But younger folks might kind of like this. It was 8, 9, 10 years old. As you get older, I think you kind of lose patience for that. So that's one downside to this game. Artistically, it looks great. I really like how it looks. It's got that mid-'80s fantasy feel that's so cool that I think we've kind of lost that in so many ways today, which is kind of sad. But anyway, that's Talisman. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.